Okay. So, hi team, good evening. The recording has been started, right? So, yesterday we have discussed about the project, and I guess all of you, in majority are talking about this We Build Nation project only, the social networking side, where we are going to develop an application in which we will be having section called education, health, food, society, Swachh Bharat, soldier. I have anticipated some more sections. One of it was Swachh Bharat, as Mehboob said. Another was soldiers or army. Any name we can give to the tab, where the family of soldiers can register themselves, ask for help, and people and we the people, correct, from the society can directly help them, right? By reaching to, by reaching to them directly, we can help them. So as a administrator, we as an administrator of site or web application, right, we build nation, we will not be collecting any money, will not be doing any fundraising, nothing. As I said, it will be like actual non-profit organization where there is no money involved. So if someone wants, let's say if someone want to have if someone want to help soldiers or anyone, so what they can do is they can directly talk to the family of soldiers and directly help them, correct. So anyone from the soldiers family can register their self, soldiers information, that soldier information, and proceed with the registration, correct. Another tab which I thought was talent. So talent was a tab where anyone can upload or capture his or her talent and post on the site. So our marketing team, and that marketing team also will be the college student from MBA background, right? So for them it will be a live project, how to market this site. So it is like win-win situation for everyone, right? So in this one, the college recruits, the fresh recruits, the new college students, correct, first year, second year, third year, anyone can plan and come to join this live program, live project, and they can market this one. And how they can market is they can market in such a way that the talent of of the people who has uploaded their video, audio, maybe a code, right, maybe a software, they can promote these talent to the respective area, or the respective people. For example, if someone is very good in programming and has developed a software, so what our marketing team will do is they will promote their talent, their coding, their software to the HRs or the IT companies. If someone is good in, let's say, dancing, singing, right, so they will promote accordingly to that area. So like this, there are so many tabs which is coming soon. But as we discussed yesterday, there are four important one which we decided. And out of four also, what are going to release at the earliest basis is first two, which is food and education. Then third would be in the third is health in the priority list, and fourth is society, correct. So by not taking much of your time, let me start with the technology which we're going to use in today's session, which we're going to use in the live project, right, which we need to discuss in today's session, as planned, as promised, which is mean stack, right. So we'll start with the what part, what is mean stack, then we see why we should use mean stack, and then we come to how part. Okay, that's how we learn things. So we'll start with what, why, and how, right. So what is mean stack? So in previous sessions also, and in so many sessions previous to that, previous to yesterday's session, I have talked about mean stack. But let's see one more time, correct. So mean stack, this is the official side of mean stack, meanjs.org. So in this side you will get an information about the mean stack. You will get a startup project also about the mean stack, but we'll not go in the ready-made stuff. We'll plan it. We'll do it we'll do it in a custom way, correct. We'll not take it as it is. We'll develop, design, right, step by step by our own. So this is just to show you correct, that we do have an official side of mean stack, which is called mean.js. So mean stack is basically a full stack development process or full stack development tool or full stack development, you can say, a platform, right? Where M stands for MongoDB, E stands for Express.js, A stands for Angular, and N stands for Node. So in this one, everything else will be same. Only this A part, which is Angular, can be changed. Let's say if you wanted to, use React, so instead of A, it will be R, right? If you wanted to use Vue.js, so instead of A, it will be V, correct? So you might have seen Mern stack also written. So Mern stack is nothing but uh, uh, Mern stack is nothing but React.js, right? Mean stack, full stack development with React.js. So instead of A, you can put R. R stands for React.js, A stands for AngularJS. Correct. So we'll do it with the AngularJS. That's very famous, framework, AngularJS, widely used by the company. Correct. Growing like anything, cutting edge, latest. So best will go with the Angular. Correct. So MongoDB, Express, Angular, and Node. Correct. How we can install mean stack and all, like how that we see at the end, right? So first we see what, then we go with why, and then we see how. So the very first thing that you see in mean stack is MongoDB. And let me tell you something about the MongoDB. So MongoDB is basically NoSQL database management system. Frankly speaking, it is not at all a database management system, but still we call it DB, database, because we are storing the data, right? It is not an RDBMS database. It is not at all a relational database management system. It is not even SQL based, which means we don't have rows, we don't have columns. So how data will be stored? So first of all, MongoDB is NoSQL, which means there is no rows, no columns, no database, correct? No tables. If that is so, then how the data will be stored? So data will be stored, in the document in the form of object. So data is stored as document in the form of object, right? So what is the benefit in this case? The benefit is, since there is no SQL, since there is no relation between the tables, because there is no tables at all. So since there is no relation between the tables, so what is going to happen is, when we go for search, right? When we go for search, when we go for select, when you wanted to fetch the data, at that time, your data retrieval will be 1,000 times faster than your relational database management system, like Oracle, like MS SQL, like SQL, MySQL, right? So long story short, because there is no tables, because there is no relational tables, right? So no relational table means it will not take time to fetch the data. Let's take a live example. Let's take an example. Why relational database management system take time, or I should say why MongoDB is faster. So in typical RDBMS, like Oracle or SQL Server, right, or MySQL, what happens is we have tables. For example, I have product table, and product table, let's say, is related to customer table, and customer table is related to customer details table, right? A customer history table. So if you see in RDBMS, what we have is we have tables related to each other. So a primary key of one table will be foreign key of many tables, correct? And that one to many or many to many relation is not only with one set of table. It will be with all the tables, most of the tables, because they are interrelated, correct? So just like customer and product is interrelated, similarly customer detail table is also interrelated. Customer and customer history or order, customer history or order history also interrelated, right? Order and order history also interrelated. Order 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 table and order transaction is also interrelated. Billing and order is also interrelated. So if I talk about like this, I mean, it will take hours to discuss about the database structure, because if you notice, like in current era, all our data is stored and it is all interrelated, correct? You go into a mall, you purchase, you swipe your credit card, and then you're done. And when I say done means your details are stored in with the mall people, right? I mean, whichever application you swipe your card. So from there, they will sell the data to other people, correct? So like this, you will see your data will transfer from one place to another place. And just like in real world, your data will be interrelated, correct? It is not only with one people, it will be with a different person. Similarly, in the database also, when we store the data, it is interrelated because tables are interrelated. It is relational, correct? As I said, order detail, billing, purchase history, order history, right? Customer detail, all are interrelated. Now the problem is, when initially we add data, it's good. Up to some extent, it's very good, right? But then when you have data in GBs and TBs, like banking domain, right, which has data in TBs, then it will be a problem. Now, if you wanted to search any record, let's say I wanted to search my record. So just imagine, I might be searching, no, not might be, I definitely be searching my record, correct? In the record count of millions. Because if you see bank customer detail, so I'm talking about, I mean, easily 1 lakh or 2 lakh or 3 lakh or 5 lakh, users. If you see ICICI Bank, for example, so ICICI is having, a huge database, isn't it? You yourself know that ICICI or SBI for that matter has a huge list of customers, correct? We are 130 crore, right? So millions of data is there with ICICI, millions of customers are there with the SBI. So if I search, simply select star from, let's say, customer where account ID is, let's say my ID 112356, for example, right? So now in the record of millions, correct, that select query has to find my record in that in the table which contain millions of record. The select query will fire select star from customer where customer ID is equals to this, correct? Now that select query has to fire. It will search, it will match the customer ID with millions of record. So obviously, you see, it will be much slower. It will be much slower because it is all interrelated, right? On the other hand, we have MongoDB or NoSQLDB. So where the concept is, there is no interrelation. First of all, there is no RDBMS, there is no SQL, correct? So data is stored as a document in the form of object. So basically, you're writing and reading. You're writing and reading from the file system, correct? And talking to file system is 1,000 times faster than talking to a RDBMS, right? Because there we have structured way. Here, every record is stored in the form of object. Let me just show you in which form, I mean, what exactly is the way to store the data. So you can see like this. So data will be stored in the form of JSON object, right? Where this will be object ID. Object ID means the unique ID, so that every record will get traced. You can say it's a primary key. You can say it is a primary key, right? So we have first name, we have last name, we have address. So now you see address is in the form of object. Now in this, if you guys notice the RDBMS, I guess you all are from the college and you all know about RDBMS, right? Anyone who doesn't know about the RDBMS? Anyone who don't have any idea about the database or RDBMS or tables or rows and columns? Anyone? Please raise your hand so that I can tweak my my example. Are you all aware of? Just put in the chat, guys. Just put in the chat. Are you all aware, or I should say, anyone who has no knowledge of table, row and column? Simple. Table, rows and columns. Anyone? No. I'm saying who is not aware. Please, put in the chat who is not aware. So Rocky is saying, please tell once, no problem. So as I told earlier, Rocky, is the same thing. like data will be stored in the form of rows and columns. So if I say like this is a database, right? So if I talk about Learn Now database, the live site database, so I can, I can show you the course table, for example, the course table which you see live on the site learnnow.in, correct? So you can see like this, we have 29 course. Like this, you can see the data is stored. So every course is stored. You can see everything is stored. Course type, course image, route name, cost, rate, right? Is career oriented. All these things are there in the DB, right? In the table, we have a DB called Learn Now, right? One second, let me just show you through annotation. Yeah. So sorry, my mistake. Clear the drawing, then yeah, they should be fine. So we have Learn Now DB. Inside that we have a table called course, correct? Course has columns like these, right? These are the columns. And one second, one second. Okay, so you can see we have all the columns, right? These are the columns basically, like description, key points, trainers, all these are columns. And this is rows. These are rows basically. These are rows. So data is stored in the form of rows and columns. Now if I wanted to search, for example, I wanted to search a course by ID, right? I wanted to search course by ID. So what should I be doing is, I say where, 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 what is the column name? ID. So where ID equals to, correct? So now I can get a course. So now we had only 29 rows or records, you should say. So in that case it is pretty faster. I mean, in split of seconds, maybe in 10 millisecond we got a result, right? But just imagine if you have records which is in millions, correct? So do you think it will take the same time? Answer is no, because it has to search. The index will come into picture because we have primary key, so we'll be having index. Index is will be with the help of index it will be searching each and every row. And if the records are in millions, right, thousands also, it'll take time, right? So did you guys understand what is database, RDBMS? Did you guys understand rows, columns? Does that clear? I mean, does that answer your question, Rocky? Is that clear to you? Any question, any doubt you have? So this is a typical database management system, relational database management system, where we have a database, where we have a table contain records. Records are in the form of, or you should say table contain data. Data is in the form of rows and columns. Correct? Got my point? Is that clear, guys? Tell me in the chat. All clear? Simple? Okay. Now the important thing is, now what I was trying to tell you is, now you see, I have course, correct? So why I basically open this one is to just give you a gist of what is database or what is RDBMS, right? What is relational database management system. Second thing was, if you have noticed, when you have studied the database, we store the data in different tables, correct? For example, I have course, so I'm having a course table. Then I do have a course name, course topic, course type, correct? Course name, course topic, and course type. So everything is not stored in course table alone, right? So if you open this course table, course name, so this alone will have the name of the courses. topic will have the list of the topic. Course type will be having the list of course type, right? So different table. Now, if I wanted to get the data of everything related to course, I need to traverse, I need to fetch, I need to relate, I need to basically establish a relationship between all these four table: course name, topic, and course type, right? And basically join all four table and get the data, which again will slow down my speed, correct? Because I am basically searching when there is a data in millions or thousands, correct? So in normal situation, normal means when we have a limited data, this will be faster, no issue. But when the data grows, when we have more data, I'm talking about data when it is TBs and GBs, then joining all these four tables and getting the data in one shot will be a nightmare, right? It will slow down the speed and it'll be very slow. Now, how MongoDB basically overcome this issue? So you can see in here itself, you can get to see, the difference. So here if you see, if we use RDBMS, so we'll definitely be having a separate table called address. So one table will be maybe user, and second table will be address in RDBMS, correct? So in address table, we'll be storing the user ID and street, city, state, and zip. But in MongoDB or in NoSQL approach, what we do is we add an object like this. So in one single object, we can make one single complex object and store the data in one shot, correct? So now I don't need to go in two different tables and fetch the complete information about the user. You can see in MongoDB or in NoSQL database management system, we have one single object which is containing name, first name, last name, correct? Maybe hobbies and address in one shot in one single table. If it is RDBMS, I need to have three tables: one user, second address table, third hobbies table. Guys, agree? Yes or no? Tell me in the chat if it is RDBMS. If it would have been an RDBMS DB, then I would have created three tables: one user table, second user address, third user hobbies. But here you can see in one shot, in one single object, right? I can maintain all three tables in one single structure. Instead of creating three different tables, I can maintain all three different tables in one single structure. So don't you think it will be faster? Because now I don't need to go into the different table and fetch the data. In one single table itself, or I should say in one single object structure itself, correct, is good enough. Are we clear? Are we clear? Yes or no? All agree? Do you all agree? Beautiful. Okay, so that is why it is so fast. That is why we say it is 1,000 times faster, because we maintain all the relational stuff or relational table management system. What we do in RDBMS, we maintain it like this, like this example, what is there in front of your screen, right? Okay, this is one good example. Like this, how you will be storing? You'll be storing like this. This is one. It is just one example that how your one record will look like. But obviously, you will be storing millions of data. Let's assume the same banking domain. You can store millions of data right over here. You can store millions of data over here, correct? Like multiple objects. First name, last name. You can see, right? First name, last name, address, then hobbies. You can store as many as you can, and you'll be able to retrieve it faster. Very simple, right? Okay, so now what we do next is I wanted to show the companies which are using here. So you can see this is not normal or simple or any ongoing what do you call it, open source platform. It is the most important one as of now in the market. correct? Now you can see how many companies are using this MongoDB. You can see Facebook right in the front, InVision, eBay, Adobe, right? Adobe, Google, Coinbase, Sega. Sega is a, if you don't know, I guess, if I'm not wrong, Sega is a gaming company, right? Intuit, Government.uk, SAP, Shutterfly, Version, EA is electronics. I'm forgetting the name of this EA. EA technology. This basically create all these 3D games. It's a gaming company. Electronic Sport, maybe. I'm just forgetting the name of this full form of this EA. I used to play cricket from this EA, right? Yeah, cricket gaming. Yeah, right, Sandeep. Yes, EA game company. Yeah, it's a gaming company. So all these companies, right? All these companies are not the small companies. These companies are among Fortune 500. Correct. So now you understood why MongoDB is so important. Now you understood why also. What I told you. Now, did you understand why part also? Right. First, it is thousand times faster than RDBMS. Second important point, it stored the data in the JSON format, which is again a universal, as of now, it's a universal way of data transformation or data transfer. Correct. Previously, it used to be XML. Previously, it used to be XML. Now it's JSON, which is the universally accepted format of transferring the data. Correct. So it store the data in JSON format. It store the data in object structure. It store the data in file system. So it is thousand times faster than your RDBMS, right? No SQL. That is why also it is very faster. Data will not store in rows and columns. So there is no point of storing it in a systematic way and then finding it also in the same way. Correct. It can expand like this. Horizontally it can expand. What else? And then we have why. I mean, then we have strong reason of, one of the strong reason of why is these Fortune 500 companies are using this MongoDB, right? So it is universally accepted. It is hot. It is a cutting edge as of now. Okay. So if you want to know more information about the MongoDB, I mean theoretical information, you want to know about MongoDB, right? Other than the technical one, you can visit the site. You can read the articles. When it comes to practical knowledge of MongoDB, yes, I will be going through with each and every step, like how we should install MongoDB, how we can install MongoDB, how to run MongoDB, how we can query in MongoDB, how we can insert, delete, update, all these things. So that obviously will take in live project. Don't worry about it, right? We'll go step by step. So I have few questions. MongoDB store data in unstructured way using JSON format used for non-relational DB. Yes, MongoDB store data in unstructured way. I would not say unstructured way. It store the data in JSON object, and every object will be having the object ID. So I guess it is not a right technical name to use that unstructured. It is a structured way, but what you can say is it is non-SQL, no SQL, but it is a structured way because we are using a JSON structure. Non-structure would be flat table. We copied the data from one place and just save it in the notepad maybe, right? That might be unstructured because we never know, right, what kind of data we copied, because we simply copied and blindly pasted or inserted or stored in the notepad. That might be an unstructured, but the JSON is a structured. Its structure is JSON. Sorry, MongoDB is a structured way and its structure is JSON, right? What else? Okay, next. Let's move on. Yes, Utkarsh, you're right. It's structured, but not RDBMS, not relational. Yes, of course, it is structured, but not relational. Whenever you get confused, you just keep this structure in your mind. If interviewer also asks you, can you just distinguish or differentiate how how MongoDB is different from RDBMS? So simply just remember this example. If it is an RDBMS example, then you have to create 3 tables. One is user, one is the user table which contain user information. Second would be address, which will contain user address information, and third table would be user hobbies. Correct? But in MongoDB, we don't need to do that circus. We don't need to create 3 different tables and make sure the relationship between these tables will be there. We can simply create one single object structure, complex object structure in a JSON form, and we can maintain the data of 3 tables, which we used to do in RDBMS. We can store it in one single table, right? So this example is good enough to make sure you confidently answer in front of the interviewer, or I mean, for your knowledge. Correct? This is good enough. Sandeep is saying, please elaborate JSON object. So JSON object. So JSON object is like JavaScript annotation, JavaScript object annotation basically. JSON is nothing but JavaScript object. In simpler term, you say JSON means JavaScript object. That's it, simple. So what is object? Object is always a collection of properties. Okay, I thought of explaining this one when we actually do the practical part, but it's okay. I can answer your question now. So object is basically any object for that matter. Object is basically a collection of properties of different type. Correct? So the property can be string, the property can be integer, property can be date time, property can be array, property can be further object, right? So see this one here, underscore id is a property name. This curly braces open close is one object. This whole is one object, parent object. In this object we have these properties. These are all properties. So first property is underscore id. It is of string type. Why? Because its value is there in double quotes. Then first name, this is also a string type property because its value is under the double quote. We have last name, also another property. Again, this is also string type. Now we have address. Please pay attention here. We have address. This is also a property, but this property is of object type. So if it is of object type, again, it will contain further properties. So this address, which is of object type, again contain street property, city property, state property, zip property. So this address property finished here. Then what is the last property? Hobbies. What is the type of this property? What type of property it is? Property means, in simpler term, you say variable. I mean, people who are freshers have no programming experience, like most of you. So in C++, you create variables. You say let's say int a. Correct? So a is your integer type variable. Correct? So similarly, in object we have properties. So every property will be of some type. So maybe integer type, maybe string types. As of now, you can see all are string type. Address is object type. Now we move to last one, hobbies. Hobbies is also one of the property of this parent object. Correct? But what kind of property? Array kind of property. Its type is array. Array means collection of similar type of data. So hobbies is your property. Which kind of property? Array type. So it's an array which contain, correct, which is a array of string. Does it answer your question, Sandeep? Is that clear to all of you? Sandeep, does it answer your question? Is it clear? Don't worry if you still have doubt, no issues. When we actually started practically, we'll cover it, no problem, right? So today's session is to give you the information about mean stack. Again, what is mean stack, why we should use mean stack, and then how. So if we will be able to finish what and why in today's session, we'll take it. Otherwise, if we'll be able to finish what and why part in today's session, then we take how also in today's session. If not, then why, then how part, how actually we work in the mean stack, how actually we start the work in mean stack, that we'll take it from Monday's session. We actually start from Monday. Okay, so today what, why, and possibly how we use mean stack we'll cover. Okay, So I'm taking one by one each and everything and finishing what and why part. What and why part. What is MongoDB? Why we use MongoDB, right? So I guess by now you should be crystal clear about the about this point called what is MongoDB and why we should use MongoDB. Okay. If done, then we can move to the next one. The next is in the mean stack. Next thing is Express.js, right? Express.js. Again, the very beautiful framework which is built on top of Node. Again, the question is what is Node now, right? You should know Node first before going to Express.js. So let me just jump on Node first, okay? So after finishing the Node, then I will come back to Express.js and Angular, okay? So Node, how many of you have heard about Node.js? Or I should say, how many of you have not heard about Node.js? How many of you never heard about Node.js or don't know about Node? Just put in the chat whoever is not aware of Node. I just wanted to check how many. That's it. Just curious to know. No, not heard. Never. I mean, first time you are hearing, or maybe you heard it, but you don't know what is Node. So whoever don't know what Node, just ping me. So one is Pinky. Good. Anyone else? Okay. So what is Node basically? It's a very strong, very effective, very fast tool, right? As you can see over the screen, Node.js is a JavaScript runtime built on Chrome V8 JavaScript engine. Basically, it's a it's a tool which is built on JavaScript, and what this tool does is it acts like a server, or I should say it is a server basically. Okay, long story short, let me put it in this way. This node basically does two things, two important things. One, it acts like a server. It is a server, maybe. I mean, you can in some projects we use Node as a server. In some project we use Node as a local server or local host server. So I should say one point of Node, it acts like a server, right? Just like IIS, just like Tomcat, Apache. So it works for both local as well as web. If someone wants, like in our project, Node will be a server for local development, as well as Node will be a server Node will be our web server as well. Correct? So we will be developing our application on the Node platform. Correct? Node will be running our application on the local, as well as when we deploy our application, our web server also is going to be Node, right? Our application will run over the Node. Okay. Second task, what Node does is it's world's biggest, largest, right, renowned package management system. It has almost all the open source packages, libraries, right, frameworks. Correct? It holds almost all the open source frameworks, libraries, modules, right? You name it and it is there. So it is a collection of, right? I repeat one more time, it is a collection of all the open source packages, libraries, right, frameworks, correct, present in the programming history. So if you wanted to, let's say, I mean, some example, if you wanted to install, let's say if you wanted to install jQuery, right? I'll take the name of very familiar libraries. Let's say Angular. You wanted to install Angular, you can install it through Node. You wanted to install MongoDB, you can install it through Node. You wanted to install Express.js, React.js, Vue.js, right? You wanted to install jQuery, Bootstrap, Knockout, Kendo UI, jQuery any version, right? Karma, Jasmine, Mocha, Protector, Chai is also one of the tool, right? So any open source library, framework, right, you wanted to install, you can do it through Node, right? It's basically a magical platform. So if someone still confused and wanted to know a little more about the Node, so consider this example I always used to give in my sessions. So consider node like your okay, let's put up a use case, and then it'll be easy for you guys to understand. Okay, what is node? And in one shot, and the same definition you can throw in front of the interviewer also. So when you go to doctor, right? Doctor basically prescribes some medicines, maybe 10 medicines or 5 medicines, right? Doctor prescribe on the slip and say go to chemist and take those medicines. So what you do with that prescription list? You don't go to that medicine company. You don't check each and every medicine and go to medicine company and purchase the medicine from there. For example, let's say doctor prescribe paracetamol or brufen or Vicks or something else, right? Or cherry cough. So do you go to cherry cough company and say, hey, I need one cherry cough bottle? Answer is no. Do you go to Brufen's company and say, give me Brufen? No. Do you go to Vicks company and say, I need an inhaler, give me the inhaler? Answer is no. Correct? You don't do that. Why? Any reason? Even if you know the company, what is the reason why you don't do that? Any reason? Any reason why you will not go to the company directly, each and every company of the medicine, and purchase the medicine from there? Any suggestion over the chat? You can unmute yourself also. You can speak if you want to. Otherwise, just put it in the chat. What is the drawback in that? So Sandeep is saying because we have medical store. Okay. Any other answer? Mohit is saying because company has warehouse where it is difficult to find one product. We are near to it. Mabu says can get multiple medicine it at one shot. Brilliant. This is one of the strong point. What else? Pinky is saying because we can found these nearby. Okay, the same thing. I mean, we can find it nearby. We can find it nearby. All the medicine at one shot. That is why you go to pharmacy. I'm saying again, there's still 50%. You know, still 50% missing. Why we don't go to the company, right? Each and every company of that medicine. If doctor prescribe 10 medicine, why don't we go to each and every company of the medicine and purchase directly from there? So Rohit, the last line I lied, and it is closer to the answer. For every medicine, we have to go to different places. For every company, we need to go to different places. And yes, Sandeep, that is also correct. It is not easy to reach, right? It is not easy to reach. It is not easy to remember also. You need to find out the warehouse. You need to find out the company. You need to find out the outlet of those companies and get the medicines from there. Correct? Getting one point? So you all are partially correct. So if I club all of your answers, so you all are correct. You all are correct. It is not easy. We don't even know where are the outlets. Correct? We don't get all the medicine one shot. It is time consuming. Correct? To get you get to the store or company of each and every medicine and get it. So that is why we don't go to there. That is why we don't follow this practice. So what we follow is, now we come to the realistic situation, or actually what we do. So what we do is we go to pharmacy, we go to chemist, right? So what chemist or pharmacist does is we hand over the prescription list to chemist, that guy, and say, hey boss, we need these medicines. And what that guy does, he or she went to the warehouse, or you can say go down, or maybe the cabins, right, where all the medicines are set or arranged. They take the prescription list, read it, and take all the medicines in one shot, or I should say give it to you, all the medicines in one shot. Getting my point? When you go to chemist, you hand over your prescription list of 10 medicines to that guy, and that chemist guy will give you all the medicines in one shot at one place. Correct? No time wastage. Getting my point? Same thing. Correct? Same thing this node does. So you hand over the prescription list, which means you hand over the package list to node. Please pay attention here, guys. This is very important. Correct? You hand over the prescription list, which means the package list. Package list means what? Instead of 10 medicines, what will be there in your package list? Bootstrap, Angular, Vue.js, React.js, Mocha, Karma, Chai, Protector, right? What else? Kendo UI, Express.js. Let's say these 10 packages you want in your project. These 10 libraries, these 10 modules, these 10 frameworks you want in your project. So you mention in your package file and you hand it over to Node. And now what Node will do is, Node will read it one by one. Angular, Vue, React, this, like this, one by one. Node will read all the packages, download it for you from the net, correct, in your project. Download all these frameworks, libraries, modules, whatever you call it. It's all same. You call it module, you call it framework, you call it library. It's all same for Node. Node will read each and every package or each and every module file or each and every library or each and every framework. As I said, all are same. So I will call it package, correct? So Node will read each and every package from your package file and download everything, all these 10 in your project in one shot. So did you understand now what is the second task of Node? It's a package manager. It is world largest renowned open source package manager. Open source means the packages which are free of cost, no license required. That is what we call open source, not the licensed one. If you say, hey Node, download, let's say, download Visual Studio or SQL Server for us, they are licensed tools. So Node cannot do that, right? I mean, Node is not authorized to do that, I should say. But like Angular, Vue, React, Kendo, Bootstrap, Express.js, anything which is open source, jQuery, anything which is open source means no license required. Node can download it in your project. That's it. So you don't need to go to different sites. Now, different medicine company here is different site. You don't need to go to Angular site and download. You don't need to go to Bootstrap site and download. You don't need to go to React site, Vue.js, jQuery, Kendo UI, Knockout.js. You don't need to go to these sites and download the libraries from the site itself. You just need to have Node initialized in your system, in your project. Mention your packages, what you want to download in the package file. Give it to Node, right? Fire the command. Node will download all in one shot. I guess this is pretty clear about the Node second task, right? Node behaves like a package manager. Is that clear, guys? The second task of Node. So Node basically does two things. I repeat one more time. Second iteration. First task of Node is Node behave like a server. Second task is Node behave like a package manager. Is that clear to all of you? Any doubt, any question you have? Anything? So Pinky, probably you will be my litmus test, right? Because since you are not from the technical background, right? So if you are understanding it, I would say, I am, up to the mark. What do you say, Pinky? Right? Since you're not from the technical, if I am able to explain you, then I would say I'm doing great. Right, Pinky? Correct? So as far as you are understanding, I'm cool. Of course, all of you has to understand. But just for the sake of saying, I'm telling you, I'm just saying, right? Okay. So Node is also done. So now you understand. If I need MongoDB, which is an open source, so I need to basically fire a Node command. Let's see, do we have such command in their? One second. Sorry, not here. Now we come back to Express, yeah, from where we actually jump to Node. So now you see the command, Node command, npm, Node package manager, npm Node package manager. So if I want Express.js, I don't need to go to Express.js site. I don't need to go to this site and download the library from here. See, I don't need to go to the site correct, and download anything from here. I can simply in my project, in my command prompt, I can type npm install express minus minus save. Okay, so leave this, leave the description of this command. We'll talk about it in how part, right? I will explain everything in how part. I'm just showing you the example. With the help of node command, we can download any open source package, even express.js. So I just need to fire npm command, npm install express. Very simple. Hey node package manager, right? npm hey node package manager install what? Install express. If I need to install Angular, so I say hey npm install Angular, install Bootstrap, install Vue.js, install React, install MongoDB, install let's say jQuery, right? Install anything which is open source, and based on JavaScript. Okay, so let's discuss about the Express.js now. Now we are good about MongoDB, we are good about Node.js. Now we know the mean stack also, correct? We know what and why, right? So let's jump to Express and see what and why. What is Express.js and why we should use Express.js? Okay, so before we move forward, do you guys want to take a break of 10 minutes? It's 5:30. So can we just take a break of 10 minutes? Give good 10 minutes to us. Take a cup of tea, and then we gather again, right? And finish Express and Angular. And team, I do wanted to know my pace also. Is it going right? I mean, do you think it is going too fast or too slow? Please do mention the chat also. Okay, so that I can adjust accordingly. Usually my pace is very high when I take corporates, but since you are basically from colleges, now you're freshers, I'm expecting you don't have any prior knowledge about these topics, correct? So I reduce my speed and going very slow, correct? But I don't want to be too slow also, so that you will lose the interest. So just do let me know wherever you think I'm going too fast or too slow. Okay, please do mention the chat. Don't hesitate, it is for your good only. Okay, so Pranshu saying it's please be little fast. So Pranshu, there are lot of people who are very new to it. So probably first 2-3 session I have to be little slow when I have to repeat things multiple times, so that because we never know which part, which example will click, or hit the right spot of your brain and make sure it will register there, right? So I don't know, so I need to repeat it with different example. I need to repeat it with different times, so that you guys will understand. So probably just pardon me for few sessions, and then probably I will increase the speed. Okay, because ultimate goal is not from my side to finish the task. Ultimate goal is you guys to understand it theoretically as well as practically, so that you will be confident in front of the interviewer, because your ultimate goal from this live project is to get the job. If you remove the noble cause of this project, right, the ultimate goal for you guys is to get a job, correct? So just bear with me for a few sessions, and then I will increase the speed, definitely. Okay, so it's 5:30 sharp, so let's meet after 10 minutes, which is 5:40. Okay, I am putting myself on mute, freezing my screen, pausing the recording as well. Yeah, break is still 5:40 sharp. Bye guys. Okay, so now after the break, what we supposed to start as the Express.js part, and then finally the Angular part. After Express and Angular, our whole mean stack information, like what is MongoDB, Express, Angular, Node will be done. Why we should use it, that will also be done. And then we can jump on the tools that we're going to use for the for the development of the live project, right, in mean stack. So we'll discuss those tools also, and then we go into the how part. So once you know what and why part, once you know the tools what we're going to use, and then I mean, it's very easy, very simple, very straightforward, to start developing the application in MeanStack, correct? So we'll be knowing about I'll be giving you the knowledge of the tools that we use to build a live project. Okay. Uh, so let's start. Okay. So are you able to see my screen as well, right? Recording, yeah. Okay. So let's continue then. So Express.js basically. So what is Express.js? Express.js, you consider Express.js like your C++, like your Java, like your .NET. Just like you have, why I'm calling all these things is because these are the technologies that you have either heard or you worked on. You might have worked on Java backend code. You might have worked on .NET or C# backend code. You might have worked on PHP backend code, right? So consider Express also like your backend code, where you will be writing all your business logic, all your APIs basically. In short, in the MeanStack project, your Express will be used to create the APIs, application programming interfaces. Means APIs, I guess you all must have heard about APIs. How many of you do? How many of you don't know about the API? How many of you don't know about API? Don't know about why APIs are there? Anyone who is absolutely zero or null, I should say, in terms of knowledge of API. Okay. Okay, good. So let me talk about API for 2 minutes. Okay, just 2 minutes. So API basically, what are API basically? API are nothing but the application, programming interface. What does that mean? Correct. So long story short, you consider this again. When we started in how part, I will be taking it practically and theoretically again. But today, just for the sake of information, so that you know what exactly is API, I'm giving you that just basically. Okay. So okay. So you all use banking side. You all use banking, correct? So you do banking through your mobile. You do banking through your web application, correct? You go to ICICI site online in your laptop. You open the site. You do banking, means payment transfer, fund transfer, anything. Or leave the banking side. I would say Paytm, best example. Everyone have used Paytm or Google Pay. Paytm. Everyone know about the Paytm. Use Paytm. Yes or no? Quickly. I guess everyone, right? If you're not used, at least you know about Paytm, correct? So what you can do with the Paytm, you can book a movie ticket, flight ticket, you can pay your bills, correct? When I say bill, means any bill, your mobile bill, your electricity bill, your credit card payment, anything you can do through Paytm. So, next question is why? How? No, not why, sorry, how? How you will be able to do the transaction through Paytm? The very simple answer is because the Paytm is integrated with the APIs of different companies. For example, you can basically recharge your Airtel mobile. So that does that mean that Paytm has a database access of Airtel? First question. Second question, why I'm asking this question is just to make sure, first, you will get confused. Second, you ask questions or you ask questions to yourself. And third, when I explain it, you will get the answer. Okay, that is why. Okay. So first question is, you recharge your mobile phone through Paytm, Airtel mobile phone through Paytm. So does that mean Paytm has a list of all the Airtel user, or Paytm has the list of, or Paytm has, which means Paytm has the access of Airtel database? That is how it is possible, isn't it? How through Paytm we are able to recharge our Airtel mobile, Airtel connection, either prepaid or postpaid. How we are able to pay, let's say, MTNL bill through Paytm, which means Paytm holds the database of MTNL. Third question, through Paytm I can book a movie ticket, correct? So does it mean Paytm controls or holds the database of Book My Show? Because that is how Paytm will be knowing like which movie, how many seats are available, like that, right? through Paytm, you can book your flight tickets. And when I say flight means of any aviation company, right? So does that mean, again, same question, does that mean that Paytm holds a database of all the flight companies like Indigo, Go Airlines, right? Jet, Air India. So answer is no for all. Paytm holds nothing. Okay. So how this magic is happening is each and every company nowadays, I mean, today's era is of API. If someone wants to, let's say, get the feed, someone wants to get the feed of Twitter, they can include Twitter API. If someone wants, let's say, same thing, I'm now coming to the questions which I asked. If someone wants, I wanted to host the Book My Show, I want people should book the ticket through my site. So I don't need to hold the database of Book My Show. I need to use the API of Book My Show. So similarly, all these aviation companies will expose their APIs. MTNL and other service providers will expose their APIs. So the Paytm will be talking to the API of each and every company. Book My Show, MTNL, Airtel, right? Aviation companies, correct? So Paytm will be hitting the API of these companies. Again, the question is still the same. What is API? So at least this much you understood, that API is something in the middle, correct? Through which we are interacting to different companies or different sites basically. Take an example of your bank also. So now you can do your banking through your mobile. You can do your banking by going to bank. You can do your banking by using the ATM machine. You can do the banking by opening the site of the bank, correct? So there are 4 examples I've given you for banking side. The 4 example I've given you how you can do banking. So how it is possible? Again, because at the background, bank is having the APIs. So the APIs are your mobile app is talking to the same API. Your web application, your website of bank is talking to the same API. Your ATM machine is also talking to the same API. Your bank guys, when you enter into the bank and say, hey, deposit this money, so that guy or girl is also using the same API. Okay, again, the question is still the same. What is API? So API is nothing but some functions. In short, in layman language, if you wanted to understand, API is nothing but some function, some set of function. Take an example of booking a movie ticket. So the API, the Book My Show API, will be having some set of methods that you have written in C++ also. Same method like find the number of seats available, one method. Then after selecting, book the seat, second method. So one method would be get the list of available seat. Second method, book the seat. I mean, much before this, the first method should be technically give me the number of Audis, correct? Much before that, the method would be give me the number of cinema halls in my city. Cinema hall in my city, for example, Bangalore. Give me the list of all the cinema halls in Bangalore. So one method of API, list of cinema halls. Second method, in one cinema hall, for example, PVR Phoenix Mall, for example. So for Phoenix Mall, how many Audis I have? So second method would be list of Audis. I mean auditoriums, list of Audis. Audis, I guess you all know, correct? Audi 1, 2, 3, 4, correct? So list of Audis. Then list of movies, list of ticket availables. Like this, you will be having, and then finally book the ticket. So there will be some 5-6 methods, correct? Which Book My Show will expose, right? So that is API. So API is nothing but the collection of methods which are exposed over internet. So imagine you have written a C program where all the methods that you have written the C program are there in that software itself. are there in that exe itself, are there in that executable file itself. But in the case of API, these methods are exposed over the internet so that anyone can use the API and anyone can use the API and serve the purpose. Okay, so the same API which Paytm is using, correct, you will find the ICICI Bank app is also using, or Axis Bank app is also using. I mean, through Axis Bank app or ICICI Bank also you can book your movie ticket. And you might have seen lot of apps which says Just Dial, for example, Just Dial app. You download the Just Dial app and you can book the movie ticket from Just Dial also. Same Book My Show. How? Which means Book My Show has exposed one API to everyone. Everyone is using the same API. And what is that API doing? That API is having set of methods, correct, which is exposed over the internet. That is how everyone is able to use the Book My API. If together, I mean, tomorrow you and me get together, make one application, correct, Book My Show, or I mean Book My Show or something, any name. And if we want to do, you know, if we want that people should use our site to book the tickets, we also going to use the same API what others are using. So guys, did you understand what is API, why we use it? Did you guys understand what is API, why we use it, what is the advantage of API? So now anyone can talk to anyone with the help of API without actually interfering in the database. If API is not there, the only way to use, I mean, the only way to do these operation is to go into the DB. We should have access to Book My Show's DB. Then only it is possible without API. Correct? Which is very wrong. Which is like which is a security concern. But by exposing the API, Book My Show, correct, has given those methods only which is required to book the show. That's it. Correct. Same happens with the banking side. Same happen with Paytm. Now Paytm is same happen with you know, air ticket booking also. Correct. You book your flight ticket through multiple sites, not Paytm, Google Pay, Paytm, Amazon services. I mean, anywhere. I mean, there are a lot of sites, apps through which you can book the tickets, and all the apps are showing the same real-time information, that how many seats are available in each and every flight, list of flight, and how many seats are available. How they're able to show the same information? Because they're using the same API. And what that API is doing, that API is exposing some methods, the methods which are having information like list of flights available for that day, each and every flight, how many seats are available in every flight, second method, cost of the flight, third method, correct, and finally when you click and book, so book that flight, same API. That is how in real time, when you book a ticket for you know, for one flight and a particular seat, other person will not be able to do that, because there's one API which is giving the real-time information. So I guess we are you know, very much aware about the API now, right? Any question, any doubt you have in the API? Is that clear to all of you? It is a very layman language definition of API. API, application programming interface, correct, which has set of methods which is exposed over the internet. With the help of API, we can hook any old legacy application also with the newer application, or with the or you can say with the real-time system, right? One last example, last 10 seconds. Let's say there's a factory. Let's say there's a factory, right? Yes, Sandeep, you said very correctly. Communication between the application, absolutely correct. That is what I'm going to tell you. Communication between application. Let's say there in the factory there is an old application, very old application, which is like, let's say there for that particular system itself. In the same system, in the same server, everything is getting recorded. Okay, and the only way to, you know, to check what is happening in the system is you sit in the system, you generate the report from there. I'm giving you the real-time example. That is how nowadays, you know, people work. So they don't, I mean, if there's a legacy application and the owner doesn't want to change it, there are a lot of clients which says, no, I don't want to modify my existing system. You tell me some solution on top of it, correct? How can I get the reports? I'm sitting in US, UK, I travel, but I want all my reports on mobile. Now, in next 10 seconds, I'll tell you how this beautiful concept called API will make this happen, okay? So owner says, I have a system in my factory server. It generates all the reports, but because I do travel, I want those reports in my mobile. How can you do that? Without changing my entire application, entire system. So what I will do is, or what we'll do is, we create API. Under API, of course, we'll be having some methods. Those methods will be talking to, the database of that legacy application, that older application. We'll be talking to the database of that older application where all the information is getting stored, right? And then what we'll do, we'll make one simple web application or mobile app. Mobile app will use that API, right? So if I need to draw it, let me just quickly draw it. It will not take much time. 1 second. So I would say this, my mistake. This is that legacy application, okay? And 1 second, this is my API, okay? Let me just put API, undo text, API, right? And this is our mobile app. Simple mobile app, that's it. So now if I show you the flow, very simple. So API will talk to the legacy application, legacy system, I should say, maybe a server, right? Which is on premises. On premises means in that premises, in that client place only, factory maybe, there only it is there, right? Lot of ERPs works on this simple structure which I'm showing in front of you. And this mobile app basically consuming all the information from the API. So mobile app is consuming API. API is directly hitting the system, getting the data from the database and giving it back to mobile app. So this guy who is holding the mobile app, the owner, the client, can see the reports, what is happening, day-to-day things, attendance, whatnot, everything what is there in this system. Everything what is there in this system, in his on-premises system, that client can see on his mobile. What do you say, guys? Isn't it cool? Isn't it cool? Ever since this API came into market, into picture, they changed the whole programming. It changed the whole, what do you call it, software engineering system. Why? Because now nothing is impossible. We don't need to change the whole structure. We don't portray in front of client that, hey, you are using the older application, this will not work, you need to revamp the whole architecture, you need to pay more for this, right? Nothing like that. Whatever you have, if you don't want to upgrade it, fine, be with it. What we'll do is we'll create API, we'll create the latest on top of your legacy. So with the help of API, we can confidently say, okay, I'm going to create an app for you. In that app, you can see everything, whatever is happening in your factory. But question is how, technically, how it is possible. First of all, I'll create the API. API will consume from the system and pass all the information to mobile app. That's how the client is happy, correct? We are also happy. We don't need to touch any existing thing, correct? We are building everything on top of the legacy application. I guess, but now with this example, it is much clear to all of you, right? All good? Okay, so let's clear the drawing. Now, what are the technologies to make APIs as of now? So we can make API in PHP. We can make API in .NET. We can make, in .NET we call it ASP.NET Web API. In Java also we can make API. If I'm not wrong, I'm not Java guy, but if I'm not wrong, in Spring or Hibernate we create APIs. If I'm not wrong, sorry guys, I have no information about the Java. So in Java also we can create APIs. In .NET also we can create API. In PHP also we can create API, right? So these are the three known technologies which I told you Why? Because you know about PHP, you heard about .NET, you heard about Java. So in these three so far we were able to create APIs. Now the fourth one, which is very hot in the market, which is Express.js. It's a module which is built on top of Node only. So Express.js is a platform where you can create the APIs, right? So the whole gist of this discussion is that in Express you can create APIs, correct? So all your business logic, all this cool stuff, talking to database, fetching the data, pushing the data to database, getting the data from the database, all these cool stuff you will be writing in the Express.js in the form of API. Means you will create routes, you will create APIs, correct? Every API will be either getting the data from the database or pushing the data or inserting the data into the database, correct? Or maybe talking to file system. So these APIs are the one which will talk to the ultimate resource. Is it clear, guys? Are we good? Are we good so far? So you can see the definition here. What is written? One second. Like the web component for Node.js, right? So what we create is we create API. If you read more about this, you will get to know. See, APIs. We create basically a middleware in Express.js which contain all the APIs which will talk to database, right? Get the information, post the information. See, Express is a minimal and flexible Node.js web application framework that provides a robust set of features for web and mobile application, right? Okay, do we have question? Good. So no questions, right? Let's move forward. Now the next thing is, so Mahbub has a question, how to create or make an API. Yes, that will, that Mahbub will see when we start the Express.js layer. Why are you worried? We still not started with how part. So in how part, we'll see each and everything step by step. Without API, our whole project is gone. We cannot use anything, correct? So the APIs which we create in Express will be used for our web application as well as for Windows app, mobile apps, right? The APIs which you create in Express will be used in mobile as well as web, both. So without API, there is no life in programming. Trust me, there is no life without API. So this is the most important part. Much important than your UI also. Okay. Okay, so what next? Then we have Angular. Much awaited thing, right? Angular. So what we do in Angular, what is Angular, and why we should use Angular? Let's talk about this. Next 10 minutes we'll talk about this Angular, and then what we'll do is we'll see the tools which is required to do programming in MeanStack. Okay. So what is Angular? Again, it's a framework, right? So it's a framework on which you can make mobile and web-based application. Yes, you heard it right. With the help of Angular, you can make mobile application. You can make web-based application. It is basically an open source framework. It's a framework developed by Google. So it is backed by Google, developed by Google. Fortune 500 companies use Angular to build their products, correct? Client products or their own products. What else about Angular? So this is a framework. Angular is a framework where it contains I should call almost everything what your Java and .NET contain. When I say when I say the features, what it contain is like it contain like services, classes, interfaces, your UI, your HTML, your CSS, your animation, correct? I'm talking very generic. Okay, I'm not even talking the exact list of Angular. I'm just going at very high level of Angular, that what you will see in Angular is whatever you could have done in Java and .NET. Why I'm using Java and .NET precisely is because you guys mainly worked either in in Java.NET, or you guys have seen, you know, Java or .NET, maybe studied Java and .NET, right? So that is why I'm taking the name of Java and .NET. So whatever you could have done in Java and .NET, like creating modules, creating classes, creating namespaces, imports, exports, right? Inheritance, your interfaces, your OOPS programming, correct? Services, HTTP calls, correct? Everything. I mean, your HTML part, security, session management, right? Templates, anything you call it, it is there in Angular, right? That is why it is so famous in the market also. The biggest reason, one of the biggest reason of Angular being hit is it gives you all the server side feature, but at client side, which means it gives you everything what your .NET and Java gives, correct? And .NET and Java are server side programming. I mean, server side technology. Server side technologies means .NET and Java. Your browser cannot understand your .NET and Java. Whatever you build in your .NET, Java, PHP, your browser cannot understand. So if your .NET and Java cannot understand, if your browser cannot understand your .NET and Java, then how can it render the application which is built in .NET and Java, right? So what exactly, you know, happens is your Angular is the framework which runs at your client side, right? It gives you all the features what your .NET and Java gives, but the best part is not at the server side, at client side. So you make classes, you make interfaces, you do OOPS programming, you have services, you have HTTP call to the APIs, everything whatever you do at the server side, now you're doing it client side. Client side means client browser, correct? So that's how it is 1,000 times faster than any application which is built in your .NET and Java, correct? Because for every request in .NET and Java build application, right? Take an example of any Java based application. So whenever you host a Java based application and you do any request, you click on button, or you select something, or you do any event, it triggers to server first. Server basically processes it, and again from server it comes back. Again you select, let's say, state, so that you can load the city. Again it will go to server, correct? For any action, whatever action you perform in .NET and Java based application, every action will go to server first. There it will compile, it will get compiled, and then come back to client browser. Why? Because your browser doesn't understand your .NET and Java, the code which you have written in .NET and Java, the language which you use in .NET and Java, right? Or PHP for that matter. So .NET, Java, PHP, these are server side applications or server side technologies, right? They have everything at server side. Everything get compiled at server side, and then it comes to browser. So the biggest drawback is network speed or slowness of the application. Okay, so whenever you go to server for everything, right, and then come back, so it is called a round trip. So this round trip will take more time. It is as good as, for example, for example, you came to your college, right, and your teacher is saying, hey, go back to your home and get your maths book. Okay, you went to, your home, gets a maths book and come back. One round trip. Then your teacher says, hey, you go back and bring your English book. Again you go and come back. Then she says, oh, go back, get a geometry box, get your stationery, get that book, get this book, right? So like this, for each and every book or thing, you're going to your home and coming back. Now the speed of yours, I mean the time taken by you to go to home and come back, depends upon how far you live, how far or how close you live, to the college. Agree? Correct, guys? So that adds to the slowness of the application. Your performance will get slowed down, your time will get wasted, and it might be possible that you are stuck in jam and you never came back to college after the second request. After first maths book, you went to home, you get the maths book and come back. But for second English book, when you go back to home, you stuck in the jam. You never reached home, or you never came back to college. Correct? So that is a drawback basically. Now, case study 2. You have your bag, very simple and very common sense also. You have your bag, all the required thing which you need, to go to college, whatever it is, everything A to Z. maybe your study books, maybe other articles, right? Anything, whatever you need to go to college, or whatever you need in college, you will put everything in one bag, and you come back from your home in one shot to college. And then you will not go back to home until and unless there is something which is very urgent, which is not there in your bag. Same thing is client side application or client side technologies like React, like Vue.js, like Angular. These are client side technologies or client side frameworks, client side JavaScript frameworks, your Angular, your React, your Vue.js, and that is why they are so famous, because they are 1,000 times faster than your server side technologies like Java and .NET. Now, in the case of Angular, Angular is like your school bag, like your college bag, where in one shot it will bring all the resources whatever is required from the server to client browser. So it brings all the resources which is required by the client browser. Now client browser means your browser which is there in front of you. So your browser is nothing but your college. Okay, so your browser need, let's say, 500 files. So when Angular project load in the browser, it will bring all 500 files in one shot, correct? Like your bag, and put all the files in the browser. And from now onwards, for none of the file, right, you will go to server and fetch it. Getting my point, guys? So now when everything is there in the client browser, then there will be no server call. When there is no server call, means there is no slowness. Application will be faster in loading, right? Because it is because it is browser based, so it will be platform independent as well, device independent as well, because every device, every platform, has a browser. Correct. So Angular based sites, React based sites, Vue.js based website, web applications, mobile apps are basically faster, platform independent, right? OS independent. Correct. As I said, 1,000 times faster. Right, guys? You can make rich UI, because in server side technologies, you cannot make rich UI. Why? The simple reason is, the more you add the richness, the slow your site will be, because for everything it has to get compiled at server side. The call will go to server side, there it will get compiled, there it will get handled, and then come back. Correct. So to avoid such slowness, you will see in server side application which is built in server side, they are not so interactive, they are not so flashy, they are not so rich in UI, because the more flashy, more rich UI you add to server side application, the more slowness it will get added, the more slowness will get added, and your site will eventually will be slow in loading in the browser. On the other hand, when you have this client based application, client based framework, application which is built in server client based framework, like Angular, like Vue, like your React, they are 1,000 times faster, because everything is at client side. Client side means client browser. Whenever I say client side, means browser, client browser, right? So is that clear to all of you guys? What is Angular? Why Angular? Any question, any doubt? Again, when we started practically, we'll see the in-depth knowledge of Angular. Don't worry about it. This is just a introduction, or you can say the gist, like why, what. Is that clear to all of you? Any question you have? Any doubt about the Angular? All clear, right? So last time, Angular is basically a client-side JavaScript framework. Client-side JavaScript framework. Okay. It works at client side only. It works, client side means client browser only. Call will go to server only and only when there is a requirement. When there is a file, or maybe a DB call, obviously, not maybe, definitely, when there is a DB call, or maybe a file that you need to fetch, then only there will be a server call. Otherwise, there is no server call. The whole application will run in your client browser. Okay. The browser can be Edge, Internet Explorer, can be Chrome, can be Firefox, any browser, Safari. Okay, and if you make mobile apps out of Angular applications, so in your mobile app memory itself, everything will get stored in your mobile itself. Your application will run. Correct? No question, guys. All good. So what is Angular? Why we should use it? Faster, client side. It's a product of Google. Fortune 500 companies use it to build the product in Angular. What is Angular? Client side scripting. Sorry, client side JavaScript framework. We built rich application in Angular. We use Angular to make mobile apps as well. Correct? Okay. So if that is done, now the whole mean stack is done if I'm not wrong. So M stands for MongoDB, done. E stands for Express.js, what and why, done. A stands for AngularJS, again, what and why for that is done. And then finally Node.js, what and why for Node.js also done. So now why we should use mean stack for full stack development is done. Correct? Done in this sense means you understood now what is this tool or technology mean stack, why we should use it. Can I get yes from all of you or no if there's a question in the chat from all of you? This probably the last theoretical session, correct? And next session onwards, there would be practical and only practical. So far you have studied practical after theory, but now onwards, I mean next session onwards, you will be you will be getting the theory, you will be studying or understanding the theory with practical or because of the practical. So we'll do practically, like we'll start making live project practically, we'll do hands-on, and while doing the hands-on I will be sharing the theory with you. Okay, this is what it is and why we should use that. So I will be doing it parallelly, as well as I will be showing you or telling you the theoretical knowledge also. I will be giving the theoretical knowledge also of the topic to you. Correct? So that way you will understand this faster, you will understand it faster, you will memorize it, you will feel confident because you're not studying it, you're basically doing it. So that's the difference between the live project and the and just studying the book. Okay, now final thing, to answer your question, which version of MongoDB to install? Current development one, please reply so that we can be. No. I'll let you know. There are latest version. I mean, there are latest version also, but we'll be installing the stable one. Please don't do that, Pranshu. We'll do live, and I'll be showing you. Then you'll do that, please. We have latest version. Don't simply install MongoDB, download it. We'll see the latest version. Okay. So when you go to the site, when we actually go to the site of MongoDB, there's an option called download, where it is. I'll show you, no worries. They again update the UI. Otherwise, download button was in the main links. Okay, so I'll show you. I mean, in next session we'll see MongoDB. We'll see all these things. Okay, so let's not do it now. So in today's session, what I had for you is, apart from this, is so yes, Pranshu, that is what I'm explaining. I mean, you need to be a little patient, buddy. I mean, don't take your second step before landing your first step. Please, we'll go step by step. So that is what I'm telling you now. What are the tools that you need to know, or that you need to I mean, we'll be using it in this live project. Okay. So very first thing that we need now, correct, is your editor where we actually do the coding. Okay, so there are a lot of editors in the market. So the best one as of now is Visual Studio Code. Visual Studio Code. So if you just type Visual Studio Code, the first link what you see is Visual Studio. Okay, is Visual Studio Code. correct? So code.visualstudio.com. So you go to this link, correct? You can download it directly from here. Download for Windows, okay? Windows, Mac, Linux, whichever type of system you have. I guess most of you have Windows only. So download the stable version. See, there's a stable and insider, or the latest one. So don't ever install the latest one. Always install the stable one, stable or recommended. Okay. So just download the stable one, say next, 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 and it will get installed. Okay. Download this. It's an exe. Next, next, next. No recommendation, nothing. Just next, 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 and done. It will get installed. So Visual Studio Code is the first one that you need to install. It would be an editor. Just like Eclipse, you might have heard about Eclipse, Notepad++, Sublime, right? Atom. One more thing, Storm, if I'm not wrong. Storm, Atom, Sublime. Sublime was very famous. Eclipse, very famous among the Java guys. Then you have Notepad++. People used to write in Notepad++ also, correct? But I will recommend which is the company standard, and we in our company also use the same editor, Visual Studio Code. Okay, it's free of cost. Just download, install. That's it. Stable version. So this you will be installing for your editor. You will be installing as your editor, right? Editor means where you will be doing the code, where you will be writing the code, where you will be writing the APIs, where you will be writing the front end coding, correct? Back end coding. So all your code will be written through this Visual Studio Code editor. Right? If you have Mac OS, so you can download the Mac. I mean, you can download the stable version for Mac OS as well. Okay, that's the first thing, first software that you should download before the next session. Okay, before the next session. Getting a point, guys? Whatever tools I'm telling you today, these should be downloaded before the next session. I mean, it will be very kind of you if you install all these things which I'm telling you now before the next session. So first is the editor. Second thing is the Node.js. Let me just go back to the Node.js. So second is Node.js. So now you go to nodejs.org site, nodejs.org site, right? So at this site, you will find again the download option at the front page itself. Download for Windows. You have option to download for where is that? Other downloads. If you go to other downloads, if I'm not wrong, it has checked my it has detected my system. That is why it is showing download for Windows. If you have MacBook, I'm 100% sure it will say download for Mac OS. Okay, so here you will be again downloading not the latest version, the recommended version, correct? Not the current and latest, because current and latest usually in these open source technologies usually are the beta versions, and versions which still have the dependency issue, still have some patches to fix, still have some bugs to fix, correct? They're basically in beta version. So we don't need to use the beta version. We need to use the stable version, which is, we call it stable version in different site. Some say stable version, some say recommended, right? So both are same thing. So recommended means the stable version. So 12 is the stable version, which means it is tested, trusted, and there is no bug in that, right? So if someone says I need to download a specific version of Node, then you have this link called other downloads. I won't recommend it. Download the recommended version only because you are doing it for the first time. But let's say in the company or anyone who already has or has a dependency that I need to download it, say Node 10. So how I'll be doing that? So you have a other download link here. Click on that. I'm sure here you will be able to find the previous version. So here you can see you have download option for Mac and Windows, but this is not what I was looking for. I was looking for the previous versions. So there will be the previous versions. Yeah, previous release. See, previous releases. So just click on this one. So you will see the previous release. So before Node 12, there was Node 10. that you can download. Before 10, if you want to download node 8, so you can do that. Okay, so don't go in this direction. This is just for your knowledge, just for your information. Correct? So in the download section, you will get to see the different option. For Mac, you can download. For Windows, you can download. Okay. So Visual Studio Code and your node package, that too recommended version. So my system is Windows, so go to Windows installer and just click. See, like this, one package will get downloaded. Again, you just need to just need to click on the exe, next. Let us just do that. Let me just show you downloads. So go to this MSI file, double click, and now you just need to say, correct, it is actually detecting. It is, see, checking my requirement system what do you call it, properties or system information. It is gathering. Once it says okay, next, accept it, next, done. There's again no setting, no checkbox option. I mean, you don't need to do anything. Just accept the terms and condition and simply say next. It will be installed. Okay, so these two things you need to do at your side before next session. So MongoDB will not install it now because that we require it little later. So we'll not go in that direction as of now. For next few sessions, we'll be working on the Angular, right? We'll build our UI. Then after 2-3 sessions, we'll start making the APIs as well. And then we jump on the DB part. I mean, yes, we'll do it parallelly, but it will have a gap of 2 sessions at least. Okay. So before next session, you may need to make sure that you will have the latest version of recommended version of Node installed in your system, and this editor called Visual Studio Code. That's it. Okay. So any question, any doubt, guys, you have? Anything you want me to repeat? Anything you want to ask me? Okay, so Mahbub has a question. Yes, yeah, Pranshu, right?
Yes.
Yes, Pranshu, can you speak a little louder?
Yes, so now it's audible.
Yes, much better.
I want to say just in the Node.js there will be one stage where it will ask for install the dependencies also. So that comes in the Node.js only. So then these guys will also stuck whether to download dependencies or not. So I think they need to download the dependencies. What about your
No,
idea?
no. I mean, okay, simply say next. Okay, simply say next. That happens when we actually try to install it with a custom way. That is why I didn't add any information. You just run MSI file, say next. Don't take any checkbox. Let it be a default one. And once you pass through those screens, and then it will get installed in your system. Okay, when you go for the custom one, then these things will come. That is why I said don't check any checkbox apart from accept terms and condition, and simply say next. Okay. If you still have any issue, let's say if you still find any issue, in the next session I'll take your system live, right, and install in your system live. Okay, if you happen to see any issue, but I don't think there will be any issue if you simply go with the flow. Okay, so Mahbub has a question. I have downloaded the Node.js previous few months ago. Do I need again the latest version? No. Which version you have installed, Mahbub? So if you hit the command prompt, type node, so you will get the Node.js CMD, Node.js command prompt. You will get just like I am doing. See, command prompt. I say node, so I get this Node.js, right? Node.js command prompt. Just enter and then print version. Yeah, node version, node minus version. node space minus version. So it will show you which version. So it should be, the recommended one. It should be recommended one, which is 10, no, which is 12, I guess. So even if you have 10 also, it's good, no problem. Okay, any other question, any other doubt you have, guys? Anything you wanted to ask me before we leave the session? Okay, so if no question, then we'll meet on Monday, right? And Monday we'll start the how part. We actually start the coding, correct? So Monday we'll gather again. You already, I guess, got the invitation. If I'm not wrong, there's a series. So Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday. These are the days we have for this live project. Okay. So Monday we will be, Monday we will be, starting the how part. Correct. We'll discuss about the project. Correct. We'll see some architectural diagram and workflows, and we straight away jump with the coding part, which means how part. Okay, so Monday is for the how part. So we'll officially, technically, coding wise, will start from Monday. Okay, so I'll be sharing these links. I have added half of you, in the GitLab. So I'll be adding all of you, correct, in the GitLab. You will get a mail also on your email ID. Please log into your GitLab. All the information you will get in the GitLab itself. Okay, or over the mail with I mean both of them. So yes, Pinky, go ahead, ask your question.
So actually we have time issue.
You have time issue, so you're saying that 4:30 time issue, right?
Yes, yes.
So you guys wanted to shift it to 6:30, correct?
Yes.
So
6:30 or 7.
6:30 would be fine,
6. Okay, okay, sure. Sir.
right? Since it is online, you don't need to, 6:30. 6:30 should be fine.
Yes, sir.
So we'll meet. So that's what I'm saying. So with this updated information, I'll be sending you the invitation. Okay. I'll be sending you the invitation. So Mayor, now it's okay, right? Correct, Mayor? Now the 6:30 is fine, right?
Sir,
Okay.
at 7 we open, we break our fast.
Okay.
Matlab, after 15 minutes also I can start, like 7:15.
So sure, why not? I mean, that break of 10 minutes you can take. See, everything is getting recorded, right?
Okay, okay, sir.
So 10-15 minutes here. See, what we'll do is, maybe when we start at 6:30, at 7:05 we'll take a break of 10 minutes.
Okay, sir.
Then we continue.
Okay.
These things, I mean, in the batch we'll handle. Don't worry.
Okay, okay.
So now we'll be officially sending you the invite, right, of 6:30 from Monday onwards. Okay.
Yes, sir. Sure.
Okay, sir.
Cool.
Thank you, sir.
Great. Done then. So meet you on Monday, guys. Make sure you install both of these things. Correct. So Pranshu is saying, can we get the documentation? Yes. As I said, in the GitLab, I'll be sharing everything. In the GitLab, I'll be sharing everything. So project technical discussion comes under the how part. So that we'll handle on the Monday. Okay. We'll go step by step, Pranshu. Don't worry. We'll include everything. Correct. I mean, I am more than you. I am curious to, finish this. Correct. So don't worry. We'll go step by step. So one more question we have, do we need to create a WhatsApp group? I would say yes, we should create a WhatsApp group. Yes, Pranshu, none of you has the access as of now for GitLab. We are going to do that. That's what we will do it today. We'll add all your email IDs in the GitLab. You will get an invitation mail from the GitLab side. You just log in from the IDs. Okay, let me show you how. So this is GitLab, correct? And what you will be, what you will be doing is, you will be logging in to GitLab. Sign out. So the GitLab, you'll log in directly from your Google account or Gmail account or Bitbucket account, whichever account you have. So I guess most of you have Gmail ID. So just log in through your Google. Correct. And you will get to see a social networking project which is already created. Correct. So there we'll be having all the information like project structure, project diagrams, documentation, everything will add over here. So documentation you guys will be creating. I will be sharing you with the modules, use cases, architectural diagrams. Correct. You will be creating a documentation of it and putting it in the GitLab so that you will have this link, this live link of this project. Correct. Which you can share it with any interviewer, any HR, anyone in the world, and they can see what you have done in the project. Okay. So I guess that's it. Ravi sir, we have the numbers also, right? So Ravi sir, do we have the numbers? So already created a WhatsApp group. Okay, great. So Ravi sir, add me also in that WhatsApp group, and we'll have all the chit chat over there. All the project related discussion, all the project related discussions, any diagrams, any suggestions, any modules, any development, anything what we do related to project technically, we'll be doing it in the GitLab. I'll be showing that GitLab also on Monday, how we'll be using it, how we'll be doing how we'll be adding, uploading, downloading, all the project related discussion, how we do, how we perform, everything what we do related to project, we'll be doing it in GitLab. I'll be showing you on Monday. Don't worry if you don't know about GitLab. Correct. And non-project related discussion or chit chat or any thought sharing, we'll be doing it in the WhatsApp group. Okay. So I guess it's time now. Let's disperse. We'll meet on Monday 6:30 and we resume with the how part. Correct. So bye guys. Thank you so much. I hope you liked today's session. I hope today's session has given you enough information to open the pores of your brain so that you can think in life project direction, so that you can think in right direction. First of all, what are the new or latest technologies we have? What are these technologies? Why we need to use it? Correct. In that field, I hope it clarify all your doubts also. So we'll meet on Monday. So bye from my side. I'll share this recording and the previous recording also with you guys. Thank you so much, guys. Bye.
Bye, sir.